Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Path to Profit podcast. I'm Dr. Minette Riordan, along with my partner in crime and in life and in business, Brad Dobson.
That's me.
And we're super excited to be back on the podcast. We haven't done any recordings for a while. We've had some time off on vacation. We went to Nova Scotia, visit Brad's family for a couple of weeks, and we just launched a kid to college. It's been a little bit of a crazy time in our lives.
It has. The last 2 days on the road, driving back from Fort Collins.
Crying.
Yeah.
To be honest, we spent a lot of time crying and celebrating putting a kid off to college. So, I think one of the blessings of being an entrepreneur is to have the flexibility to do that. And yet we know that so many people struggle with how do you get it going? How do you get profit coming in so that you can take more time off and travel more and have more freedom? And really the answer to that is great marketing, which is why I'm super excited to have our guest here today, Kristin Taylor. Kristin, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, super fun. And Kristin came to us through one of our former podcast guests and one of my good friends, Petra. And Petra Mayer talked about launching online courses a couple of podcasts ago and gave a great interview. So, and you're in Seattle, is that right?
I'm in Vancouver, Washington.
Vancouver, Washington.
Just north of Portland.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. It gets very confusing.
You're both Vancouver girls from different places.
Yes, exactly. We're twins from different cities. But
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So Brad's going to share a little bit about Kristin and some of the amazing things that she has worked on in her marketing career. And then I'll share our quote of the day and we'll dive right into our conversation.
Good stuff. You've probably already seen some of Kristin Taylor's work. She helped introduce Starbucks coffee. For real? That's
yeah.
Introduced Starbucks coffee to the world and has also successfully marketed everything from Moonstruck Chocolate to Danner boots. Kristin works with organizations that need branding, marketing strategies, and marketing tactics that create results. Kristin's approach is both direct and collaborative. Be prepared to take action and achieve your goals with your on-call marketing director, Kristin Taylor. Welcome again.
Thank you.
Yeah, super excited to have you. And so our quote for the day is very appropriate. And it's from P.T. Barnum, one of the creators of Barnum Brothers Circus, Barnum and Bailey, whatever it was called, the circus. And he said that without promotion, something terrible happens. Nothing. And I love that quote because I think it's one of the places, Kristin, where we see our clients struggle is with self-promotion.
Yes.
And marketing in many ways is self-promotion. It requires a lot of courage, a lot of visibility, a lot of risk-taking, sometimes a lot of investment of time and energy. So I'd love to just dive right in and maybe have you tell us a little bit about your story. Like, how did you get started in marketing? What do you really love about marketing? Wherever you want to take it.
Okay, sure. Well, I'll give you the short timeline story of how I ended up in marketing. I graduated with a degree in broadcast journalism, and I worked for a while in radio as an on-air personality. And I loved it, but it really wasn't all that I wanted to do. And I thought what I wanted to do was be a TV anchor person, but I quickly discovered that the last thing I wanted to do was be a TV anchor person. So I got a job in Memphis, Tennessee, of all places, in a public relations agency. And I did public relations and was able to use my writing skills. But at that agency, they also did advertising. And I noticed that there was a lot more going on the advertising side and that PR was part of it, but there was so much more to marketing than the PR aspect. So I was moved over to the advertising side and never really looked back. So I worked for a couple of large agencies in Memphis and then moved out to Portland to work for an agency called Evans Craft, which turned into Publicis later. And really loved my time
small
there.
Little agency that nobody's ever heard of.
Exactly. And we went through a merger, and mergers can tend to be pretty difficult on everyone involved, particularly as you try and assimilate different personalities and work styles. And our merger was really, it's how the Starbucks account came into the agency, so that was really cool. But as far as the personalities between our agency and the merged agency, it really wasn't a good fit. And after a while, and I was there for a little while with the merged agency, myself and two other partners decided to leave and start our own agency.
Nice.
And so that was, we started, classic story in a garage in Portland, and started with some really great accounts, and were very successful. I ran that agency for 15 years in Portland.
Wow.
When we closed, I went on to be a media director for another large agency in Portland. Didn't really like that very big narrowing of what I was doing, because at my agency, when I ran it, I was doing a lot of branding, I was doing a lot of account service, I was running teams, and so I narrowed it a lot by going to this other agency in Portland. I ended up leaving to be a marketing director for a startup company. That company decided, because they lost their biggest investor, that they would lay off sales and marketing.
Classic. So classic.
Isn't that classic? It's a cautionary tale, because, as you might imagine, they're not really selling too much of that product anymore. But it really was the best thing that could have happened for me, because I really loved working more directly with my clients and doing what I had been doing at the agency, but just not with the big office and the overhead that comes along with owning an ad agency and all the employees. So I launched myself as the on-call marketing director. And so what I do is I work with companies who know they need marketing, but they're just not quite ready to put a marketing director on staff yet. And I can go in and provide that strategy and the big picture strategic direction, but then bring in teams that can tactically get that stuff done and make sure it gets out into the marketplace and sells products. Mm-hmm. So that's what I have been doing to this day.
Pretty cool. And I love that concept of on-call marketing, because there are so many companies that can't afford or don't know,
excuse me,
bless you, that they actually need a full-time marketing director. So
right.
Your ability to come in and help get them on track, right? And really see the benefit of having a coherent marketing strategy must be really rewarding for you, as well as profitable for them.
It's really, really a rewarding setup. And, as you say, a lot of companies realize now they need it. I think when we went through some of the recession back in whatever year that was, 2008-ish, a lot of companies did was very similar to what that company I was working for did. They laid off marketing and thought, well, we can do it all by ourselves. And I've found in the last few years that companies are now valuing marketing again, but they don't quite know how to move forward with it. And they also are a little bit afraid to add someone to their staff at that high of a salary level. So I'm able to come in and do that for them. And also, it can be an alternative to hiring a big advertising agency. Since I have all these connections in the market, I can bring in high quality people, but just not at the big agency ticket price.
I love that.
So do you find that, we're coming to the context of this from a small, individual solopreneur or couplepreneur type of approach, but I'm fairly certain that the advice that you're giving larger companies still has a lot of the same basics that anybody was going to use. Do you find that that's true, that even if you walk into a 100-person company or a 2-person company, you're still working from the same set of sort of, you still bring the same tablets down from the mountain for them?
The same tablets from the mountain. I like that. The same principles always apply. And it's really fun to be able to go from a solopreneur to a $10 million company and realize that a lot of the dynamics are very much the same. And a lot of the truths are very much the same. I think that's also important to note, that sometimes agencies really focus on just one type of business, advertising agencies, or marketing agencies, and they'll only serve someone in the outdoor industry or only serve someone in the packaged goods industry. I feel that I bring a bigger value to clients because I have a much broader width of experience, and also work with clients across industry platforms, so that something that works in the outdoor industry could very well apply to someone who's selling chocolate, and you just don't know exactly where that's coming in. And that's where creative thinking comes into the picture.
Okay, so my really obvious follow-up here is the basic question. What are some of those those principles?
Well, I have one that that's always the first thing that I share with clients. And it's a statement. It's decide what you are and then be that. And so it's really a two-step process. The first part is to decide exactly what your company is, exactly what it is you're bringing to the marketplace, exactly what kind of personality your company is going to have, exactly what kind of messages you're going to be putting out into the company. So that's really the planning part of the process. And then being that is honoring that first step, honoring that decision that you've made, and being that in all of the marketing that you're putting out into the universe. So it's a very simple statement, but it's something that we come back to a lot when I work with my clients. It's like, okay, are we being the company that you decided you are in our first step when we do this this marketing outreach?
That's
great. It's brilliant. And it sounds simple, and yet I bet it takes a lot of time for companies to get to this point. So I'd love to hear a success story of a client that you helped really, or even yourself in your own journey. Like, because I love that question, decide what you are and be that. So it'd be really, really helpful for people that are just starting out to hear a story, an illustration of that.
Well, I think the one that I'd like to talk about is kind of an interesting little case study. I've worked with a company, it's called Enviromet, and they're based here in Vancouver, and it's a woman-owned company. And this is a woman who is selling mostly spill kits to the industrial market. So she's selling kits that you can use to clean up oil spills or chemical spills or something like that. She also has other industrial products that are available, and they are related to the trucking industry, to large industry, to environmental cleanup. So you get kind of the idea. It's a pretty niche area, but it's also, also a lot of people who need this product. Maybe not you and I, but there's a lot of people out there who need this product. When she and I first started working together, she was basically a Me Too company, where she had a great URL, which was spill. Unfortunately, there was a hyphen, spill-kit.com. And so she did well on SEO searches when people were searching for spill kits, but she didn't have any personality in the marketplace. So what we did is we really decided that part of what her company was a company that was really devoted to the environment, but also was a woman-owned business in a very male-dominated world. And there's something to be said for highlighting that, because it can be a real attention getter, a real rise above, kind of cut through the clutter, because we've all seen the magazines and the websites where every single ad looks exactly the same. And in this case, it was a really good example where every single ad looked the same. Everybody's websites looked exactly the same. They're all selling commodity products for the most part. So what we did is we branded her as Mrs. Clean. And
that's genius.
As a what queen?
Mrs. Clean.
Oh, Mrs. Clean. Oh, yeah. Fabulous.
And dressed her all in white, and gave her a little bit of, she has a really great personality. Her name is Rani Sasaki, and she has this amazing personality that's very positive and a little bit humorous, and she's just able to, and she's extremely knowledgeable about what she does. So in all of her materials, she honors that decision of of being a company that's woman-owned and being very knowledgeable about the product, but she also delivers it in a way that kind of cuts through. And so, you know, she's dressed all in white. We made some full-size cutouts of her where she's standing in the stores where they go to buy these things. And so it's very surprising to see a woman dressed in a white outfit, you know, shirts and pants with spill kits. And her website was relaunched with that theme, her point of sale, as I just mentioned, her brochures, etc. And, you know, within a year, or within less than a year, her online sales had gone up by more than 40%. So I think she's continues to honor that decision that they made to really decide what they are and embrace it.
Yeah, that's really neat. You know, this
Yeah.
reminds me of, we talked with, it was Tiffany talking about Speedo, right?
Yeah.
Tiffany Scott, is that right?
Yeah.
One of our previous podcasts. And she was working with Speedo, and what they had decided to do, or their you know, their sort of relaunch or remarketing, was to get their old pictures of when, I think they were even black and white, of when they originally launched their, not black and white, but anyways, when they originally launched their swimsuit line. But what resonated with what you said was that they went back to what they started with.
Mm-hmm.
So in their case, I think they'd gotten too far away from that, or lost focus, but it was about having their marketing aligned with exactly who they were.
Mm-hmm.
So I love what you said there. That's really
Well, I
neat.
thought there were some, you know, some great takeaways in there. I mean, it's, you know, in a marketing speak, clearly it was a total rebrand and makeover of her. But I think what I really loved is deciding what you are, right? And what is it that you stand for? And to have someone in that industry be committed to the environment, and that's what matters, right? And then how do you flow that from there? So how do you be that woman then who makes a stand for the environment with everything that you do? And I think that's where people get stuck in starting the whole marketing conversation, is with that first piece, deciding what you are.
Yeah, beautiful. That's exactly right. And I really honor her for doing that. And obviously the sales numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah, 40% increase in our online sales is brilliant. And she has retail locations as well.
She sells through 2 retail locations.
Sells through 2 retail locations. I love that. That's brilliant. And it's something that's needed. Like, it never would have occurred to me selling environmental spill kits, but it makes perfect
sense. They're important.
Yeah, that's, I mean, it's absolutely brilliant. I love that. And so I'd love to, because I imagine this website gets launched and it's just the beginning. You know, people often think, I'm going to launch my website. If I build it, they will come. And, you know, we all know what happens. You hear crickets, nothing happens, you're frustrated, or people launch a website and think they're done, right? And, you know, it's never done, right? It's an evolving, ongoing process. But I know one of the things that you're passionate about, just like we are, is the importance of a marketing plan.
Oh gosh. That's usually the first question, or one of the first questions I ask a prospective client is do you have a written marketing plan? And 99.9% of the time it's no. And if they do have one, it's one that's been shoved into a drawer. So it's really important to set out with goals in mind and a vision in mind, a mission, a really good definition of who your target audience is, your ideal client or customer, exactly what your messaging is, your budget, etc. And that all comes in a marketing plan. And that's something that I really feel strongly about with my clients. It doesn't have to be a tome. It doesn't have to be multiple pages, although I've done some really long marketing plans depending on who the client is. And it also is something that should evolve with time. I think one of the biggest mistakes people who do have a marketing plan make is they don't look at how their marketing is going, and they don't evaluate their plan against how it's performing. And so, you know, you take the metrics of what's working in your marketing or not working, because it happens, and you apply that to your plan, and that's really the evolution of your marketing plan. So yes, I think a plan is really, really important, and it's a big part of that decide what you are step.
Do you struggle with people wanting to throw all of their budget and all of their marketing time at online?
Yes, I in particular, people want to throw it all at social media. There's a couple things about social media, and I love social media. It's probably, I spend more time with that probably than anything else. So it's not something against social media, but there's two things I find with social media. One is, I can't tell you how many clients come to me and say, well, we want to do social media because it's free. It's free. And I have to explain, really? That's just not true, and it's becoming less true every day.
Yeah.
That's not a reason to do social media. So I run into that problem with a lot of people. I also run into people thinking that social media is some sort of panacea, some sort of answer that's going to solve every single problem they have, and that it's the only thing that needs to be done. It's that being said, I'd say there are very few clients that I run into who don't need social media.
Sure.
I think just about every type of industry can benefit from social media. But yes, a lot of people want to do only digital. Having run my agency, I have a grounding in traditional advertising, which, print, television, radio, brochures, all that good stuff. There's still a role for all of those things in a good marketing plan, but it really depends on who your audience is, what your budget is, etc. And if I can divert just slightly on the budget issue, if I can send out a plea to clients everywhere and marketers everywhere, it's like, don't play the hide the budget game. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into a client and said, okay, here we are, we're going to get started. What's your marketing budget? And they're like, we don't have a marketing budget. We don't know what it is, or we hoped you would tell us what it is. Now, I can give guidelines on percentages, and that sometimes is all they need, but sometimes they just kind of want the agency or the marketing consultant to come at them like a roofing salesman, that I'm gonna, and it's not that I can speak for myself. I guess I can't speak for all marketers, but I'm not trying to get every last dollar you have. I'm just trying to get a good sense of what it is you have, because it's going to make a big difference on what kind of things we can do.
Yeah, definitely.
And from a percentage, is there an industry guideline? I mean, over the years that I was in advertising sales, and publishing, I heard a lot of different standards, right? And for a small solopreneur, some of those numbers feel really big, but so I'm curious what your philosophy is on some of those guidelines.
Sure. Well, let's talk about stepping outside the solopreneur, because the solopreneur has an added challenge that I'll talk about in a second. But if we're talking about a growing company, depending on where they are in their growth cycle, it can be anywhere from 10 to 25% of their revenues, of their gross revenues. And 25%, and it could even be more, is for a company that's really launching and for a company that's introducing new products. The added challenge that a solopreneur has is they're usually trying to do a lot of their marketing themselves, and they undervalue how much their time is worth. It's really, really important to understand that if you're spending time on marketing, which you're going to have to do as a solopreneur unless you are extremely well funded, that your time is worth something. So don't be wasting time on a Facebook strategy just because you enjoy being on Facebook. Make sure that it's getting some results for your company, and put that amount of time that you're taking away from your other responsibilities into your budget, because that is a very real number. I've heard someone who I think a great deal of, Ronnie Noyes, who runs the DIY Marketing Center, and she tells her clients, who are almost all DIY people, that they need to be spending 50% of their time on marketing.
Yep.
That, and people kind of like, well, it sounds like way too much, but it's really true. If you don't have someone to help you out, that's really a very reasonable number.
And I think that's even conservative when you're just getting started, right?
Exactly.
When you're launching your business and you don't have clients or sales, 90% of your time is going to be spent on marketing, right? And sales.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I wonder if DIY is much different from the artist or creative space, you know, or certainly the maker type of space. It's the same, right? A lot of overlap there.
What do you mean?
Well, just from our perspective of working with creative entrepreneurs, I would think that they could take the same advice as the DIY.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Neat stuff.
Yeah. I love that. So I'm curious from a traditional marketing standpoint, so non-social media, what are the trends that you're seeing right now? What's working? Like, I'm hearing that print is coming back again.
Print is coming back. Print is getting sexy again, which is kind of fun for those.
No, don't tell Manette that. She's going to want to have a magazine again.
Let's launch a magazine, Manette.
I would love to, Kristin.
I thought you'd never ask.
We know so much more now. It would be so much easier now.
Yeah. Well, I think magazines are becoming much more targeted.
Yeah.
And much more luxe. You know, they're produced in a much more beautiful way. So I do see a revolution or an evolution where print is coming back. One thing that I really like to emphasize to my clients is how important email is. Email has kind of become the direct mail of our generation, where direct mail was really regarded as being throwaway when digital came around. Email is so important because you've gotten an introduction to that person's personal email box, and the sales that you can do, the percentage of sales you can do with someone on an email platform is much, much higher than on a digital platform. So, you know, it's important to remember that your social media is so important, but you don't own any of those names. And, you know, you may have 5,000 Facebook followers or fans, but you don't own their email addresses. So really your biggest goal in your Facebook page should be to convert and get those email addresses through a good quality lead magnet so that you can reach them through email. There's a lot of people who are using LinkedIn right now for a business-to-business sales strategy. And I saw something today in my email box that every connection on LinkedIn is worth something like $50-some to you. So the amount of time that you can connect with people in a meaningful way on LinkedIn is also a trend that I'm seeing.
Are you seeing people actually invest in the Prime version of LinkedIn, do LinkedIn ads because they're pushing really hard on their ad platform right now? Or are you seeing really people using it as a social networking site similar to Facebook, but for business to business?
I think that's a really good way of putting it. I see it as more organic right now with LinkedIn. I don't see the need right now. There would be need for some clients, but for most of us, I think we have simply built up these connections on LinkedIn and done nothing with them. And LinkedIn has been kind of like the ugly
duckling.
That's the word I'm looking for. The ugly duckling of the industry. And now if people reach out in a more one-on-one organic way to their connections and post more content that is applicable to their ideal client, that is converting, as opposed to previously where we just kind of sat around and said, well, I have more than 500 connections, it's got to be worthwhile. It's a little problematic with LinkedIn just from a personal level because they did recently make some big changes. And if you're a premium subscriber, which I am, you lost some capabilities that were really, really helpful. So I'm still working with my clients to make sure that that is valuable to be a premium and to use it in the best way possible, because that's changed a little bit in the last.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's, you know, they're since they got bought, right? You know, I've been watching the changes, changing in the format, changing in the way you can connect with people. even without the premium model. So LinkedIn fascinates me because I do think that there's so much benefit there for people. And like I have this one client who has an art supply shop and teaches classes and does all kinds of great stuff online. She's like, I don't need LinkedIn. I'm like, yes, you do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's a great place to connect with other artists, to connect with other teachers and educators who might be great buyers, right? Or might be buying wholesale, you know,
Right.
so all of that is really, I think a valuable tool. So I love hearing you say that. So email marketing, you know, it's definitely not dead. We totally agree. LinkedIn, print is coming back. What else are you seeing that's really working for your clients right now?
I would say that it's almost more what isn't working.
Nice.
I think digitally, websites are still working, but that people are moving more and more to social media for their resources and for information. I'm seeing more and more clients, more and more end users using Facebook as their search engine. So it's really important to be optimized on Facebook for your SEO. And I would not rely solely on a website anymore. Like you said, a lot of clients think, wow, I can put a website up and you know the cash register is going to start ringing. The thing that Facebook brings, and I use Facebook in particular because obviously it's the biggest one, and you know you can discount it all you want. It's the biggest and will remain the biggest for our foreseeable future social media network, and the billions of people on there are a testament. But with Facebook, you're able to build a relationship and a connection with your client that you can't do on regular websites. And so I think companies need to be very aware of this when they're doing their social media, and in particular doing Facebook.
So I'm curious. So this is like a juicy conversation. We could go a whole nother hour.
Yeah.
So what I heard you say is that websites aren't working anymore the way that they used to, and that we need to optimize our Facebook for SEO. So are you talking about business pages? Are you talking about groups? Are you talking about advertising? And you say people are relying on social media to get their content, and they're not going to websites. Do you see blogging and some of those more traditional digital strategies not being as popular, or do you think they're just originating on social media?
I think that they're being used smartly on social media, and a good marketer is still going to be blogging on their website. It's very important, but they're then going to be splintering that content. They're going to be taking the blog content and turning it into a series of social media posts that lead back to the website. And when you lead someone back to your website, make sure there's a reason you're taking them back to your website. And maybe your best reason is the one that I mentioned earlier, which is the acquisition of their email address. You know, maybe your website has a really juicy lead page that will lead them to some content that the person really wants, and you exchange that for their email address. Yeah. So I think that the website is still a price of admission. You can't not have a website, although a lot of clients, particularly solopreneurs, as they start, I recommend to them to start with Facebook rather than a website because of this dynamic, and then maybe go to a website. But the key is to make sure that your social media is interacting with your website and you're creating a vital link between the two.
Yeah, that really mirrors something. This is twice in 2 days. I was listening to Pat Flynn's SPI podcast, which is a fantastic podcast, Smart Passive Income. And he had Amy Porterfield on, who's another marketing or super guru person. Anyways, saying exactly the same thing you're talking about. It is making sure that your social media posts are encouraging people to get back to the fantastic content that's on your website, and that content having making sure that they're encouraged to opt in, having calls to action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
type of
call to
thing.
action. That's the key right there. Is don't just. It used to be that we were really happy if we got traffic to our website, and that was the goal and the end goal. And now that's useless unless you're really creating a call to action in your relationship.
Right. And
That's so brilliant for people to hear, because they don't get that. So traffic on your website is useless unless there's a call to action.
Mm-hmm.
right. And the key there was, and the whole point of the game was is to convert those social media followers into people on your email list, so that you can then utilize the email list for more marketing or more sales.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And get into that email box that we talked about earlier as being so important.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's brilliant. And so back to optimizing for SEO on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Say more about that.
Is that in a post or in a page or all of it?
Yeah.
All of it, really. The first place is to make sure that you are utilizing your page, that you're utilizing the info section of your page, because that is used when people are searching for something on Facebook. It's used as a search field. So you want to be sure to be talking about what it is that the clients are looking for. And you may have already determined what those things are in your plan or in your SEO for your website, but make sure you're using some of the same phrasing and words and things that are meaningful to your clients.
I think that's so smart. That and one of my favorite mantras I use with all of my clients is create once, think multiple uses.
Mm-hmm.
And so helping them to understand, I teach the same thing about LinkedIn, all those keywords
Mm-hmm.
used in your LinkedIn summary as well, and in your
Right.
Titles and labels there. And so I think it's when people get stuck in marketing overwhelm, if they are smart and start with their plan, then all the content they create just gets parsed out to all these different places. You said that
Exactly.
you said that the blog content gets splittered out to use on social media, and then everything is driving them back to a landing page or a great blog post asking for their email. So it's like, it sounds complex, but it's really not, because you're saying if you know who you are and you're being that in all these different places, then people are going to want what you have to offer, and they're going to be able to sort of self-select and say yes.
Exactly. And I want to emphasize something that's kind of a little bit off track from what we've been talking about, but it's really important for all of us, whether you're a solopreneur or a big company, to remember that not everyone is our customer or our client, and we don't have to appeal to everyone.
Nope.
And my services appeal to a certain kind of marketer, and I got over the fact that I may not appeal to another kind of client long ago. It's really important to focus in that decide what you are piece on exactly who you're trying to reach from a demographic and a psychographic level, so that you know who it is that you resonate with, because we don't have time, money, or desire to work with clients or customers who don't align with those values.
It's so true. And I love that you said that. We've done whole shows on just that ideal client piece,
Mm-hmm.
because for new business owners, whether they're small or launching big companies, it's so hard for them to grasp that. And funnily enough, I had the same conversation with my 15-year-old daughter. We're going to launch a YouTube channel for her called Cookies After School.
Oh, fun.
We love food is a big part of our family life together. And I'm like, you need a focus, right? And she's like, oh, we should just do, family meals. And I'm like, it's too broad.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to explain to her, I'm like, what do you love about some of those? Because she's addicted. She has all these YouTubers she follows for makeup and cooking and science, and a lady that just does crazy stuff with her nails, right? That's super silly and funny, and yet doing this amazing, creative, crazy stuff with her fingernails, decorating and painting her fingernails.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that reminder that we cannot help everybody. I think I'm so glad you brought that up. And I think it's part of the being that. Don't you think it all connects?
Sure.
Right back to that beautiful thing you said at the beginning. If I really know what I'm doing and I'm really being that, then that's going to connect with a certain part of the population, not with the whole population.
Exactly. And then messaging becomes a little bit easier when when you're being authentic and you're speaking from your heart, it really comes easier. You're not trying to figure out what your client wants to hear. You basically know because you've created that connection in that space.
Beautiful. And I think with that, that's such a great, powerful place to leave the interview. And so I'm curious, how can people get a hold of you if they want to connect with you further, ask you questions, or learn more about your services?
Well, social media is a fabulous way to find me, and you can find me on Facebook at Kristin Taylor Marketing, and that's Kristin, Taylor Marketing. And Twitter, I'm Kristin Taylor X. And on LinkedIn, you can also find me on Kristin Taylor Marketing. And my website happens to be KristinTaylorMarketing.com.
So is everybody getting the message here about consistency in their brand? That was brilliant. I love it. So if we just Google Kristin Taylor Marketing,
you're going to find me. You're going to find a few pages.
Yes, quite a few pages.
You decide what you're most comfortable with.
Awesome. Kristin, thank you so much for your time and your expertise today. This is so valuable.
Yeah, this was great. Just loved all of it.
It was really fun talking with you. We got to geek out on marketing.
Yeah, we totally And you know, it's funny because when I asked you about traditional marketing, I thought you would talk more about print and I loved where you went with what you're seeing working, email and LinkedIn being great strategies, especially because you do focus a lot on business to business, right? Most of your companies are B2B.
Well, it's really a mix.
It is really a mix. Yeah. Awesome. Beautiful.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
I don't want to hear about y'all having a back channel conversation about starting a magazine.
Starting a magazine. Okay. I'll try and behave.
But just have to be really quiet about it. Awesome. So I'm Manette. This is Brad and Kristin. This is the Path to Profit podcast, where we share great tips and strategies to get your marketing working so you can get on the path to profit and stay there. And we'll see you on the next show.
Bye, guys.